Inside this unassuming gray building alongside busy Route 202 in Flemington, New Jersey, visitors can view one of the world's grandest tourist attractions, Northlands, home of the Great American Railway. Northlands defies description. On one hand, it's an HO scale model railroad, but chances are you've never seen anything like this. There's just nothing to compare it to. Dubbed the Great American Railway, Northlands is immense. Occupying some 52,000 square feet, that's equal to about 20 large homes. Northlands consists of a series of scenic dioramas, each of which is individually larger than most complete model railroad clubs. Listed by the Guinness Book of Records as the world's largest model railroad, Northlands is an exercise in verticality, with level after level of trains clinging to the sides of mountains an actual 30 feet high as a 3-story building. In model terms, that's an HO scale elevation of half a mile. You view the layout by strolling down an actual mile-long walkway, which takes you up, through, over, and around the various scenes. Sometimes you're at the base of huge canyons, looking up at the towering peaks. Later, you'll be at the top of those same mountains, looking down into deep gorges. Along the way, you'll see huge scenic vistas featuring more than 350 bridges, one of which is more than 38 actual feet long. There are more than 4,000 buildings, over 250,000 model trees, beautiful rivers and lakes, cities, towns, and villages, and train wrecks. And there is a frontier fort, a Civil War battlefield, an outhouse factory, and even the world's only toothpick farm. About 100 HO scale trains, which are 87 times smaller than the real ones, run over more than 8 actual miles of track. That's over 700 scale miles. Unlike most model railroad layouts, Northland's trains run through the scenes on huge continuous loops of track. Some trains take more than 10 minutes to complete a circuit. These trains are controlled from a central location, which houses more than 100 power packs. Most of the scenery is made from hydrocal plaster. More than 100,000 pounds of the stuff, that's 50 tons of it, was needed to construct the awesome mountains and cliffs that make Northlands unique among model railroads. The exhibit does not attempt to recreate any real railroads or places. In essence, Northlands is our gargantuan fantasy landscape, featuring more than 100 miniature trains, which add movement to the artwork. Northlands is the creation of Bruce Williams Zaccagnino, better known as Bruce Williams. He was a legend for 20 years among East Coast model railroaders for having added 4 basements to his house at the time to accommodate his ever-growing model railroad. In 1989, Bruce purchased the present 16-acre site in Flemington and began constructing Northlands, which is more than 15 times the size of the previous home layout, including all 4 new basements. After investing more than $9 million in 4 years of his time in the project, Williams opened Northlands to the public on December 18, 1996, and it became an instant hit. In addition to the huge HO scale railroad dioramas, Northlands also has adjacent Lionel O gauge and G scale railroads. To enhance its appeal to the public, Northlands features several impressive doll and dollhouse displays, along with a large exhibit of stuffed animals. And to top it all off, there's an elegant 250-seat theater in the middle of the building, complete with a 2,000-pipe theater organ up on the stage. This fine instrument is played by Bruce Williams himself, along with several other organists, who perform throughout the day. An outdoor rider-sized railroad was under construction in 1997. Well, enough talking specifics. Let's go for a tour of the Great American Railway. We'll look at the scenes in the order in which you would encounter them if you were taking the walking tour of Northlands. You'll also ride the rails on the Northlands Express and view the scenery with our incredible Mini Chooch Cam, a unique miniature video camera developed especially for this program. So sit back and relax as Mark 1 Video takes you through Northlands on the Great American Railway. Our opening scene features a city with a big industrial area surrounded by towering sandstone-like cliffs. High above the city, the steam-powered, streamlined New York Central Empire State Express rushes along the cliffs and through a tunnel. We'll encounter this famous train a number of times during our tour. Rounding a corner, you get your first glimpse of a large canyon as the Lehigh Valley streamlined John Wilkes passenger train roars around a bend. Delbert's Cove, which adjoins the canyon, features a long double-track causeway lined with riprap. Several short bridges cross the lake. The Empire State Express makes an impressive sight as she roars down the main line, as viewed from the Northlands Express. Near the end of the opening scene, a large roundhouse reminds us of the glory days of steam. After passing through the real-life concert hall, where organ recitals take place every half hour, you enter the main part of the tour, which begins with a visit to Harper's Ferry with its impressive lake, cliffs, and canyons. Here you'll see the first of the really huge bridges that characterize Northlands. Mansion Road features an impressive 4-track horseshoe curve. From the cab of the Northlands Express, we have a fine view of the horseshoe curve. Multi-level, double-track bridges are the highlight of the Iron Valley area. Near Iron Valley, you can look straight down 2 different canyons. After visiting the creepy abandoned ghost town, you arrive at a community with a unique name, which you will have to visit in person to fully appreciate. Some trains run right along Main Street, while others soar overhead on spidery trestles. Moving on, we come to Dunmore, named after a town near Scranton, Pennsylvania, where Bruce Williams lived as a young boy. Nearby is a youngster's fantasy view of Scranton itself, with towering skyscrapers. Around the bend, we encounter the Pennsylvania Gap, featuring Grander Canyon, and a number of soaring bridges with trains on many different levels. A walkway spans the gap some 20 feet above the floor of the canyon. In addition to a variety of stationary camera positions, we also used a helicopter in our mini Chooch Cam to explore this vast display. In a scene adjoining the Pennsylvania Gap, you'll see the world's only toothpick farm. Continuing our tour, we come to Isleyville. The railroad's right-of-way hugs the side of the cliffs, high above the picturesque village, with its charming little stream and recreation areas. Look carefully, and you'll see an excursion train pulled by a very famous steam locomotive, engine 4501 of the Southern Railway, resplendent in its green and gold passenger livery. Atlas Canyon, the next grand scene, features trains running on 8 different levels. The imposing Baden-Baden station dominates the lower display area. Along the walkway to the upper level of Atlas Canyon, you'll pass a small, in Northlands terms, Lionel layout. These individual trains are actually twice the size of the HO equipment on the big display. An amusement park and a modest G-gauge layout can be seen as you make your way toward another level of Atlas Canyon. A walkway allows you to look into Atlas Canyon on one side and get your first view of the Hodgepodge plant on the other side. High atop Atlas Canyon is the monastery of the Quiet Brothers. Continuing along the tour, you come to the 20-foot high bridge spanning Pennsylvania Gap. Look to the right, and you'll see Scranton in the background. To the left, you can see two graceful bridges soaring across the gap. Look down in either direction, and you'll see even more bridges and trains snaking along the walls of Grander Canyon. The Hobo Cemetery offers a fine view of the gap. After leaving the Pennsylvania Gap, you arrive at the Hodgepodge plant, consisting of 18 buildings dedicated to the making of thimbles. Just beyond this facility is a fancy golf course, complete with a fine Swiss chalet. Be careful, you have to be a member and HO scale to get in. The next large scene features an elaborate red railroad bridge and a graceful highway span, which cross a deep canyon. If you look straight down, you can see Delbert's Cove, which we encountered at the beginning of our tour. Here's a view from river level at Delbert's Cove, looking up toward the overlook. Visitors in the area can stay at the world-famous Grandview Hotel. biggest structure on Northlands is the incredible 38-foot-long cantilever bridge modeled after the massive Firth of Forth Bridge near Glasgow, Scotland. This magnificent creation, which spans Loch Robert Bruce, is over 7 feet high. In HO scale terms, that's 650 feet tall and over 3,300 feet long. Amazingly, this balsa wood model weighs less than 1 pound and can support a 50-pound load. In the middle of the lake is the Isle of Innis, home of Sir Cedric MacLean, Earl of Tweed. Old Fort Pitaglimo is the centerpiece of the Frontier Town display. An impressive series of curved trestle bridges adjoins this western scene. Through the fantasy of the modeler's imagination, we can go from Scotland to Arizona and on to Switzerland without ever leaving our railway carriage. For next comes the Swiss village of St. Gallen. The expansive foothills are reminiscent of the area near the Jura Mountains. The stately villa in the distance is the home of Herr Hans von Heidelberg, the world-famous yodeler. And just an echo away is the B. Newrock Asphalt Company with its impressive conveyor. As you continue on the tour, you'll view the Firth of Forth Bridge again, this time from ground level. From our comfortable seat on the Northlands Express, we get a spectacular view of Loch Robert Bruce and the mighty Cantilever Bridge. The backside of Atlas Canyon is now visible as you make your way along the Northlands tour. And the scenery continues with a humongous open pit mine and more impressive bridges. All the seasons are represented at Northlands, and winter is snowy but mercifully brief. As the visitor's ramp descends back toward ground level, you get a different view of Atlas Canyon. Bob Jeanville is yet another pleasant trackside community. Rounding a bend, the Northlands Express is nearing the end of its scenic journey. From the train, you can see the historic recreation of a Civil War battlefield and the joining of the Transcontinental Railroad in May of 1869. Let's hope that train wreck is a movie set also. Is it a real war or a cadre of reenactors getting ready for the History Channel? Only Bruce knows for sure, and he ain't telling. What better way to conclude our journey than with some California sunshine and orange groves and the world's most beautiful passenger train, the Southern Pacific Daylight. Railroads represent the majesty of America's heritage, man's conquest of rugged mountains and endless prairies on shining ribbons of steel, creating a nation out of wilderness. That wondrous dream comes alive in the reality of the imagination at Northlands, the great American railway. Experience it for yourself.